recording too. So we are doing our Yin class for July. This is July 15th, 16th. So as you rest back with the bolster underneath your knees or knees bent, feet flat on the floor, start by feeling the support of the earth underneath you and allow yourself to really settle into that support. So just as you settle in, just feel the way the earth is holding you. Start to feel the way your body lets go. There's that nurturing energy coming up from the earth. You can feel the way that you are always being held with compassion. There's that sense of safety as you settle in for the next hour or so here. There's a sense that you can kind of just breathe it all out, let it all go. That you don't need to hold it all together because there is that support underneath you always. And maintaining that connection with the support, the nurturing support, feeling held by the earth, you can begin to move, and we're going to stay connected with the earth element as we move into our first yin posture. And I'm going to give you a couple of options for this, because we're going to do reclined half hero pose or half saddle pose, it's called in yin. But if that doesn't work for you in your body, the option is you can lie on your stomach and you can draw one leg in at a time. So you could do like a front lying quad stretch instead. That would be completely fine. Tends to be a lot easier on the knees because there's not so much weight pouring through the knees. But if it works okay for you and your body, then you can also set up some props. And it does help to use your blocks and your bolsters. So I like to put my block on an angle at the highest setting, and then the second one on an angle at the second highest setting, so that you create an angle for your bolster here. And then if you have your strap as well, you will bend your right leg and extend your left leg. Put your left leg through the strap. And you'll either sit on your right heel or on the inside of it. And this really just depends on your own anatomy, what works best for your body. And it's just what your body naturally does. And then you'll use the strap so that your legs don't splay too far apart. Tighten it, and then you can rest back in half saddle pose. The higher you have your bolster, the easier this pose is going to be for you. So our first yin pose here, we stay with the earth element and the stomach and spleen meridian. So we're going to go on a bit of a journey with this class, and wanted to start with the earth element, the stomach and spleen meridian, so we can really sense into the support that's already there. The compassionate support, the nurturing energy. So as you're in this half recline saddle pose, feel the parts of your body that are connected with the earth, with your props, and allow yourself to really settle into them and feel the way they're holding you. So we're starting with the ground and the earth element, so we can feel the safety, the certainty, the comfort, and the support of the earth, which is always here and holding us. We can feel into the peace and the nurturing energy and the compassion. So just keep feeling into the support of the earth underneath you, the support of the props, and the sensation in your body. Okay, and then moving very slowly, we're going to tuck our chins if you're on your in the half saddle pose, and come upright, and then you can release the strap and extend your legs, and you can even just rest back on the props, or you can lie down on your stomach if you've got your leg up, and just feel the rebound. And then we're going to do the other side. So if you're lying on your stomach, you're going to draw your left leg in. If you're doing the half reclined, you're going to either sit on your left heel or sit on the inside of your left heel and place the strap around for that, just to have some security around the legs so the knees don't really splay out to the sides. Remember, choose the position that's right for your body today. There's no better or best position, no right or wrong. And then resting back and really settling into and sensing the support of the earth again. So when we practice yin yoga, we are always mindful of the principles of yin. So that means choosing an appropriate edge, something that we can stay with so that there's sensation, but it's not becoming sensational. Remembering that this isn't an aesthetic practice. It doesn't matter what the poses look like. It's more about tuning into how it feels in our body. And then once we've found that appropriate edge, we want to soften into the pose and resolve to be still so that we can access the deeper connective tissues of our body and the meridians, which we're going to be focusing on a lot in today's class. And we're going to be staying for about 5 minutes in each pose today, again, to access the deeper connective tissues and the meridian channels that run throughout our body. It also really gives us time to settle into the elements. When we take the time, we can really have that extra time to sense into the earth underneath us. Just notice when you're lifting up and away from the earth, when you come up into thought, allow yourself to settle back down and in. And we're going to come up and out of this pose or release your leg, whichever may be the case for you, and then extend your leg out and feel the energy moving along the meridian lines in your body. Okay, so from here, we're going to put your strap in your bolster off to the side. And you'll probably want your blocks for this. We're going to do some lunge pose, or dragon as it's called in yin. You'll walk your left leg through. So find an appropriate edge. Know that you're going to be here for about 2 minutes. And so we stay with the stomach and a spleen meridian here. So with dragon pose, we can notice what it feels like to be with intense sensations. And there's a lot of life connection here. Just in the same way that we can open to our worry, our concerns, our doubts, our fears and apprehensions, our uncertainty. And this is a practice in not turning away, in not repressing, and not acting out. So instead, and we practice this here, we practice dropping the storyline and opening to the felt sensation in our body. So we practice just staying with the intensity of the sensation in the front of the hip and the quad, and noticing how maybe we want it to be different, coming back to the sensation, feeling the sensation underneath, wanting it to be different. We just offer ourselves non-abandoning attention. So instead of turning away, distracting ourselves, instead of repressing, instead of acting out, we just keep turning back to the sensation. And then we're going to switch sides. So you'll take your left leg back and walk your right leg through. And find that edge that you're going to stay with on this side. And be with the sensation. Just be simply with the sensation, not trying to figure out where the intensity of the sensation came from, not coming up with a plan for, I'm going to do hippie shorts for the next 10 weeks to resolve this issue. Just staying open to the felt sensation of what's happening in your body right now. Okay, so you can release this dragon pose from your body very slowly. And let's just take a moment to integrate this posture by lying down on your back. Okay. Our next posture, you have two options. You can do, we're going to do, you have two choices. So you could do keyhole to shoelace on your back with your right leg over your left here. And then we're going to go into shoelace. So you would just cross further and come here. Or you could do pigeon to shoelace. So it's your choice, whatever works best in your body. So pigeon is a little bit more, if it hurts your knees, then definitely stay on your back and do keyhole to shoelace. We're just doing one after the other. That's the point of it. So otherwise, you're going to come up, and if pigeon is okay for you, then we'll do pigeon to shoelace. So if you're doing pigeon, you're going to take your right leg forward and your left leg back and long. If you're doing keyhole, you're going to cross your right leg over your left leg. You might want to use your bolster here for this too. So here we're moving on to the wood element and the liver and the gallbladder meridians. And as we move on to the wood element and the liver and gallbladder meridians, we're moving into and entering into the spaciousness of going with the flow. And this is where compassion really begins, because it's here we start to make friends with ourselves, particularly the more difficult scenarios of our lives. I wrote a really long post the other day about how the poison is the medicine. So the poisons, the messy emotions, any thoughts or energies in our lives, any areas of our lives that feel particularly sticky. So any gesture of kindness or gentleness that is honest and clear will create openness and free flowing here. And what I mean by this is when we drop the storyline, when we surrender to ourselves and we simply openly experience what's really happening behind the story, we find a kind of tenderness underneath. And this is the kindness that's available for us with the liver and the gallbladder meridian. Okay, so if you are on your back, you're going to cross your right leg all the way over your left. So you're in shoelace and draw your knees into your chest. And if you're in the pigeon pose, you're going to bring your back left leg around and come into shoelace here. The other charger's in the bedroom. So your left leg is on top of your right leg. And then you're going to fold forward here. So feel into the sensation of the posture. Let yourself breathe into the pose. Okay, and then you're going to release the pose on the side. And we'll lie back on our backs again. And feel the rebound. Okay, if you are doing the pose on your back in the keyhole position, then this time you're going to cross your left leg over your right and draw your right knee in. And you'll stay here for the first half of the pose. And then for the second half of the pose, you'll cross your legs all the way and draw both knees in. And if you're doing the pigeon variation, then the left leg is going to be forward this time. So there's no right or wrong way to do this, just the way that's right for your body today. So with the liver and gallbladder meridian and the wood element, we ask ourselves how we can treat ourselves with kindness and go with the flow. How we can be our own best friends, particularly when it comes to the difficult things in our lives, the more challenging emotions and thoughts, the difficult people and events in our lives. Because when we offer ourselves that kind of gentleness and kindness, those gestures of friendliness towards ourselves create a spaciousness and openness and free flowing here in the liver and gallbladder meridians. And this happens by dropping the storyline, all the things we're telling ourselves, and simply experiencing the tenderness underneath, the soft spot underneath. This is the way that we can be kind to ourselves, to bring that unconditional, non-abandoning attention. Okay, and then you're going to slowly come up and out of this pose. And if you're on your back, you just pull your left leg all the way across and draw your knees in. If you're on your front, you're going to cross your right leg over your left leg. So you come into shoelace pose or cow's face pose. Fill any space underneath your buttocks. Lean forward until you feel sensation in your buttocks. Let there be space between your teeth. Allow your tongue to float in your mouth. So part of friendliness, being a good friend to yourself, is choosing that appropriate edge. So checking in once you've settled in if this is going to be an appropriate place to stay for the whole pose. And then can you soften and offer yourself the attention, the same attention you might offer a good friend. And I think about one of the things that I often do with my best friends is I don't let them run away with their stories with me. I often interrupt them and stop them when they start going off into stories, when I can tell they're getting off track. And so we can do that with ourselves too. We can feel our mind going off into stories. That's the clarity, that's the honesty that cuts through and brings us back to what's actually happening right now, the sensation in the pose. Okay, and then you're going to release this pose from your body and rest back on your back to receive the posture. Okay, and then you can bend your knees, roll to your side, and we'll do our last series of yin poses. For this one, you'll start on all fours. Walk your knees to the left side of your mat and lower your chest down to the ground. You take your right arm out to the side for a broken wing pose. So at this point in the class, we're coming into our lung and large intestine meridian. And it's here that we meet ourselves with integrity and dignity, a kind of courage and brave determination. And with our lung and large intestine meridian, we give ourselves enough room to breathe so that we can live and so that we don't have to act out or repress our passions, our aggressions, or our ignorance. Because we know that the poison is already the medicine. All we have to do is lightly touch the thoughts that are coming and going, let go, and start where we are with all of the messy stuff of our life. Not when we feel better, but with all the stuff that we think we have to get rid of. So, whatever we're feeling, we can breathe into it. We can feel its intensity. We can gently lead ourselves back to it. And we can surrender to all the people and situations of our lives. I think it's kind of like being lost in the forest at night. It's dark and scary, but it's like the things that scare us, they're literally like the crumbs of the gingerbread house leading us back. So release this side from your body. You're going to lie on your back. And just feel the rebound from this side. And then we'll go ahead and do broken wing pose on the other side. So this time we'll do, we'll have the left arm out to the side. So start on all fours again, and then walk your knees to the right side. Drop your hips down to the ground. Take your left arm out to the side and lower your chest to the ground. So when we keep breathing into the pain, instead of pushing away the pain or grasping at the joy, the pleasure, or the excitement, we begin to experience the peace and calmness of space around our hearts. So the metal element of the lung and large intestine meridian allows us to breathe it in and let it go. And the metal is actually the alchemical process here. Okay, from here you're going to come onto your backs, rest in Shavasana. I would put the bolster underneath your legs for Shavasana. So allow yourself to receive your practice now. Feel the support of the earth underneath you. You can keep resting back here to receive your practice, and I'm going to sit up and read you a poem. So this is a poem by Jan Zwicky, and it's the first of 7 variations in a poem called Envoy. And so I lay waiting, a single flame felting the darkness. Dawn, they say, breaks. It breaks. Your voice came into me then like music. My lips, your brow, your temple, how you called me to the edge of myself. Did I choose? I chose. A sharp flutter in the feral trees, your voice lifting in me like the wind, your touch breaking through me like rain, like sunlight, and the rain falling in the silence behind the broken wind. O river of kisses, O dance of the heart on the skin. So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Bend your knees and roll to your side. We're going to come to a seated position just to reflect back on our practice for a moment before we come together in our circle today again. So find a comfortable seated position. That can be in a chair or sitting on your meditation cushion or kneeling on a block. And feel your connection with the earth again. Feel your spine lengthen up, the back of your neck lengthen, opening through the back of your head. Feel there's space between your teeth, your tongue floats in your mouth. Elbows under your shoulders. And feel your breath coming into your belly. And then reflect back on your experience today. And just notice what stands out, what seems most important. And as you notice what stands out, just check in and see if there's some relationship between the thing that stands out and the rest of your life. What's one small thing that you're going to take with you from your practice today into or off your mat and into your life? So, as we transition into coming together in our circle again here, we just remember that we practice kindness in our group by recognizing that each one of us has access to our own inner guidance, our own inner teacher. We all speak from our own experience using the words I rather than you. And we know that because each of us are connected to our own inner wisdom, there's no need to fix or give advice or change anybody. We trust in each other's experiences even when they might seem painful. Okay. I'm going to put my earpiece back in and unmute the lines. Okay.
Melissa, I do have a question.
Yes.
During your teachings, you said, with my good friends, I don't let them tell their story. I stop them. What do you mean?
Oh, sometimes, do you know when your friends are talking and you can tell they're avoiding telling you the truth, the truth of the situation?
Yeah.
You can tell there's something more painful going on underneath the, like, especially, I'm sure, kind of like me, you probably have a lot of spiritual friends, and so they can kind of start telling you like what sounds good. You know,
I
you know what I
agree.
mean?
I understand.
Yeah.
So you stop that.
Yeah, I usually say, um I usually say I usually just say, so what's really going on here?
Okay. I understand.
And so I just felt like that was a, like, I have a friend right now, and she's going through something incredibly painful, which is, her daughter's, so this is the story, but this is the real messy stuff of life. Her daughter's pregnant. She didn't intend to get pregnant, and she's decided to terminate the pregnancy. And for
Oh.
my friend, this is very painful
Mm-hmm.
because it's not what she would choose for her daughter.
Right.
And so in this situation, my friend was telling me all the right things, but I could tell that I could hear the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, stop. Tell me how much pain you're in.
I see.
Right? Don't tell me all the right things.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what you really feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the teaching, right? So we can tell ourselves all the story, the story. We can, because we're very intelligent. So, we can, so what's going on when something happens and then we think, oh, this person shouldn't be doing that, or, well, stop. What's actually happening right now? What's the tender emotion that's wanting to be felt underneath the right? Or even,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
I
think that makes
understand.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's hard to do.
totally. Because
Because our
we
whole
don't,
life is our story.
yeah, because sometimes that story can go on
Yeah.
for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years.
It's nice if you have somebody that can call you on things like that to get you to stop. That is rare, I have found in my life. to have a friend that
Yeah.
is that intuitive and that sensitive to you.
Well, it takes a
Yeah, I've had one or two along the way, but not a whole lot. I find that so many people are so caught up in themselves that they don't look deeply at other people. It's like it's all about me.
yeah, and ironically, so the more we turn towards ourselves and hold space for ourselves, the more we're able to be present for others as well.
Right. Well, can you hear the chorus?
Is it dinner time?
I snuck out and fed them real quick
Oh, that's good.
before you unmuted. Now they're outside barking at the gate.
Oh,
Can you hear them?
yeah.
Well, I better go
Okay.
and get things quieted down.
Okay. It was nice to have you with us, Barbara.
Well, I enjoy it. Every time I come, I love talking to everybody and going through this. It's a wonderful experience for me for the week or for the month. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, Barbara.
Bye bye.
Okay. Now, how do we get out there? Sorry.
Anything else kind of bubbled to the surface through the experience today?
Plenty, but I'm going to take some time just to contemplate that and maybe journal about it.
Fair enough. You look like you want to say something, Maria.
No, I've been feeling a little emotional lately, and I just need a little time to think about it too. I mean, this retreat, this detox feels like a retreat right now. So I am feeling a lot calmer doing the class. It just calmed my energy a little bit.
So maybe I'll just speak a little bit about what came up for me in this class, because I had an experience this morning which was totally different than the experience this afternoon, which was just an awareness around the difficulty in turning towards the so the awareness of what came up was the noticing how the difficulty in turning towards the story of needing to do it right. And whether that be that story turned towards myself or towards others. So just noticing that. So that had been kind of alive from when we started today, because it didn't start right. Because the computer went down. And then so then that was right in my face from the beginning. And then noticing the knee-jerk reaction. So then there was that kind of repression, right? To respond right to that. So to not have a freak out, to come back, calm and steady so that I'm holding space. But like, goddamn fucking PCs, right? Like, they're such a pain in the ass.
They are. They are. Our devices are just chaotic. They whenever we want them to work a certain way, they don't.
So like
that's the way it happens.
That was, and then there's acting out. So there's the other end of it. And so there's just a curiosity right now about doing it right, not doing it right. The other, I don't know. And also observing others in the judgment around, well, they're not doing it right either. And what is it to turn towards that? What's underneath that? Because right now, honestly, I don't think I'm really feeling into it quite yet. It's still on the level of the story. Right? Like, I'm doing this, they're doing that, and I don't really quite know how to feel into it yet. So, yeah. And what was interesting about that was that it felt much harder to stay. Whereas this morning, the class felt like it went really fast, and the time felt, the 5 minutes holds felt really short, and yeah. So, and it's not about doing it right either. So,
I feel we spend a lot of our time trying to do it right.
So lots of fodder for the mill, as they say.
Yes.
There'll be plenty of time to feel into this, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, because I was recognizing, so we've been talking a lot about this in the digital detox this month too, because it's been like a big neon light of everybody trying to do it right as well, right? And then so that the story was definitely going on. Then I was like, so this afternoon when we were doing the vlog, right? It was between Tim and I both directing each other doing it right, and then me not reacting wrong, and I mean, right? There was so many versions of doing it right happening. So, yeah. But yes, what was the 10, what was happening underneath it? And sometimes there was a turning towards, and most of the time there was that kind of trying to do it right, which is a turning away.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting to observe. It's a kind of aggression. Yeah. And also noticing how that was, in that kind of turning away, there was a, like it kind of exacerbated that abandoning, because then it went into more trying to figure it out, looking at how I did it more, oh, well, let's go back to how far back in the childhood did this go? And how can I solve this in the future, right? So it kind of snowballed. So that was interesting as well.
I find I spend a lot of time trying to figure out why I do things.
Right, which is very different from actually just feeling what you're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or my reaction to things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So you want to say more about that?
No, it just like that was one of the things that came up while we were doing the class was some of the teachings that some of the things we were saying, and I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I react instead of, I don't know if it's a story or I just react to things, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it because of what I've grown up with or it's just an edge.
Right. And so it's like an edge, and so rather than rather than feel the pain of the edge, right, then we go into figuring it out, because figuring out is this like safe place where we can analyze. Yeah.
Right. We're going to analyze this to death, but not really. Yeah.
Because it's much less vulnerable than actually feeling into what could be painful. Mm-hmm. In that place of like analyzing, I think, I know for myself at least, it kind of gives me like a one up. Like it's like a place of control. It is a little aggressive position,
Control.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a control thing because you're trying to control the situation. I mean, you really don't have control, but you're just still trying to control everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a very control freak kind of person. I like to control everything. It's not always safe way to go. It's not the right way to go. But like we try to control all these emotions, I don't think you can eventually.
It's a way to go.
Yeah. It's what we know, though. It's what we know. So
it's a very familiar way to go.
Yeah. Like the perfectionism, that controlling thing that we have is just the way that we're used to dealing with everything. So pushing away from that is the hard thing.
Pushing away the what?
Pushing away from doing that is what's hard. Like we the easy ways for us to control and to
Mm-hmm.
do that, because that's what we're used to, what we're familiar with. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've done that all our lives, so
Mm-hmm.
it comes easy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
going the other way is the hard thing.
Mm-hmm. It could be curious to practice the principles here in microdoses and see what happens. You know, like we practice them on the mat. And many times, I know I do, I leave feeling more spacious, more open, a sense like I can hold more. And then I can carry that out maybe into my life a little bit. Maybe this much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's this much, because by the time you deal with real life or
Yeah.
what's out there, it just makes you go right back into those patterns.
Yeah, and then something happens and I close down. Right.
Well, that's what happens for me anyway. I mean, I step off my mat, I feel good, and then something happens, and then you just right back into that place again. It's good because we come back to our mat eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing to, if I were to put money on you though, Maria, I would say that it would be more that I would guess that your experience would be more like this, like opening and closing, right? That yes, you have your experience on your mat and things open up and there's spaciousness and you come into life and then something happens and you close down. And you have that time to regroup and you open again. And I'm willing to even bet that it doesn't take coming back to your mat to do that at this point. Yes.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, if I'm at work, it might take coming back to my mat, yes. But other little things, it just help me just by to just sit down and breathe and center myself again, and then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really normal, that opening and closing. That's just part of being a normal human being. Mm-hmm. So I'm just a little curious. How does the teachings on friendliness and kindness feel? How did that land for you?
For me?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you because you're the one that's got your camera on. You're the one that's talking the most right now. So basically, you're in the hot seat.
For me, it landed, fondness to myself and kindness to myself kind of is a little bit of an edge sometimes, because I don't know, I'm most critical of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that inner critic always comes into play. I mean, I'm never, never good enough. Nothing's ever right as far as what I do. So that sometimes doesn't land quite. It's like a mantra. Sometimes it doesn't land quite. The good without exception. Like the good. That sometimes doesn't land too good because I never think of myself as good. I mean, it's taken me a long time to even get to that. To that little place. So loving kindness to myself is one of those little edges that I'm too critical of myself. So
yeah, so you're sort of holding that out here.
Yeah.
Holding it at arm's length.
I would say that is one of the edgiest of edges. The mantra, a lot of times I just will not even let it land.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So interesting, right? Because I would be willing to bet that, Maria, you would say that you would 100% agree that I have intrinsic goodness, Michelle has intrinsic goodness, and Delia has intrinsic goodness. Yeah?
Yeah.
And Michelle, you would say that Maria has intrinsic goodness, I have intrinsic goodness, and Delia has intrinsic goodness?
Absolutely.
But both of you would agree that you are the soul people on the planet that have been
it's just what it feels like. It's just like it's that I'm not good enough ever. Like I'm not. I think a lot of it has to do with personal issues with my my mother and all that stuff, because we were never good enough, and nothing you ever did was good. It's all that I think play into play, but it just does. That's the way it feels in my body right now. Like or it has since that's the way it feels. And dealing with that is just sometimes it lands okay. Sometimes I can understand that I am a good person, but it's hard to make your heart and your mind get on the same wavelength, the same path right there, or meet in a way,
I totally get it,
because that's how it feels. It's like I can understand it in my head, but my heart, it doesn't feel like that.
It's not. Hey, it's a slow and developmental process. It might not be ready to happen yet. Like this I think like what Michelle said about, what did you say, Michelle, like it being the edgiest of edges? Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. This territory of kindness towards ourselves and gentleness towards ourselves and friendliness towards ourselves is very edgy for many. It's an interesting thing, isn't it, that it's easier to be aggressive with ourselves than it is to be kind towards ourselves.
It's easier to be kind to others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or friendly to others than to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, perhaps it just opens up that vulnerable side, and to take away all that protective mechanism of finding faults or being the perfectionist or hypercritical. Hypercritical is the thing that gets me. It's like a false security blanket. I don't know how to describe it. Like I hear the mantra, and some days I'm right, it's like I can feel my intrinsic goodness, and then other times I'll hear it and it's the without exception, and I'll just go, nope, I can find you a bazillion exceptions. Let's go. Here's my list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's also a pain that comes with actually opening to my own tenderness, because I can see with a good deal of clarity how harsh I am towards myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a big part of the quality of kindness and friendliness is that clarity. So it kind of goes back to the first question that Barbara said when she said, what do you mean when you stop your friends, right? That's that quality of clarity that cuts through. And so, there's a great deal of wisdom, Michelle, in that clarity that recognizes the harshness. Because it's one of those poison is the medicine things, isn't it, really? Because the clarity guides you to see that the harshness is a problem, really. So it's not that the harshness is there to be judged, but that it's there to show you the way to the kindness, actually.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's really brilliant. So none of these things are ever really a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They just all show you the way back.
They're the breadcrumbs.
They're the what, hun?
They're the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, the breadcrumbs back to the gingerbread house. So I could keep thinking of the Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's true of whatever the most painful thing is. So that part, that part in me that judges myself and others, that just feels so awful. Like that part is there to be healed. Right? That poison is just there, right? That's that karma ripening, waiting to be coming up, waiting to be embraced. So there's where the whole thing circles back on itself, right? The whole you feel the ground, the support of the earth. You find the space. That's where the liver gallbladder meridian is just so interesting, right? Because that meridian, when it's out of balance, is anger, frustration, irritation.
Yeah.
In balance, it's kindness, it's flow. It's the space. It's the spaciousness when it's in flow. And then we can enter into that dance, I think, of the lung and large intestine, which is the breathing it in and then the letting it go, you know? So we're not turning away from anything. And that takes that courage, that dignity. But it's not like it's going to be done today.
But don't we wish it was?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And it's done. And so this class solved everything. But
When we say about karma ripening, it's when you look at a tree that's full of fruit, all the fruit isn't ripe and ready at the same time. So,
yeah. Yeah. But season after season, right?
yeah.
And it does feel like that in our own bodies and in our own lives, right? That we go through these cycles of where there's these insights that come forward and you feel ready to step into your life again and meet what's coming up. And then there's other times when you just have to walk away for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the season for everything. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions or anything else kind of percolating before we say goodbye for today?
I was going to say thank you, Melissa, for clarifying things, for the clarity that you bring to, at least to me. And it illuminated a lot of things that I had hidden today and brought back the whole holding space, the capacity of holding that judgment and fear and anger, and at the same time the yin yang of the being good and the kindness.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You brought that to light for me today. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
They're powerful. They are really, really powerful emotions, the judgment, the fear, and the anger, because they lead us back to ourselves and they offer us an opportunity to be kind and to open to to feel the earth and to bring that positive regard to ourselves, right? They really are the crumbs leading us back to the gingerbread house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a minute.
Okay. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today, and have a good evening. Stay cool. And Michelle, I hope you warm up.
Warm up.
Okay, have a good evening and rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Namaste.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.